Jeff, here we are again. It's like there's just so many topics to tackle when it comes to life, leadership, and sales. And today, this is a great topic. As you prepare for yet another marathon run with the Boston Marathon, we picked this great topic: trust in your preparation. And this is a timely one. It's also my team's fourth quarter. And so a lot of eyes on us, pressure on us, all the more important that we execute the plans we put in place early in the year. I'd love to hear your thoughts around what does trusting in your preparation mean to you?
Yeah, thank you, Carson. It's a really good topic. I'm a little self-aware on this one. I've been kind of blasting for the last several months. I'm running the marathon, so people are probably tired of hearing about it. I think there's like the joke that there's no point in running the marathon unless you get to, tell everyone that you're doing it. So, maybe hopefully this will be the last time I talk about it. But one of the things that I think is a parallel is that as you get closer to running a marathon, you actually enter what's called the tapering phase. So for me, what that means is, a few weeks ago, I ran 21 miles. It's actually the longest run I did in my training. But then, since then and actually leading up to next week, which is race day, I'm actually running much shorter amounts. I did like a half marathon last weekend. This weekend, I did 10 miles. And then this week will be, very, very short runs. And mentally, for some people, that can be challenging because they start to feel like, oh, am I ready to do this? Because I haven't run a long distance in a while. And am I like, losing what I've built up because I have not done these longer runs? And it's actually on purpose that you kind of taper things down. It's because you've already done the hard part. You've already done the preparation, and you need to let your body kind of recover so that, on race day you're ready to go. And the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, especially if it's like their first time, doing something like this, is they can't accept that. And they're like, no, you know what? I don't trust in my preparation. I need to prepare more. And so they'll keep, pushing themselves and pushing themselves. And what happens is come race day, they're burnt out. Their body is just like, give me a break. You've put me through hell and now you want me to run a marathon. And so that's a big mistake that people can make is if they don't trust in their preparation, they start pushing too hard. And I think that that's kind of akin to sales. I think in our careers, every single day, you and I have things that we're doing. And, we have to trust in the little things that we've been doing to kind of get there. But what I think can be really problematic is that when people start to panic, um, if they don't believe that, that their preparation has been adequate, what they do is they start pushing too hard, right? They'll start doing things that are unnatural. They might be trying to push a customer in a certain way because they don't believe that they're just going to get there on their own. And these are the types of behaviors that always backfire in a selling environment. When you really lose track of like what made you successful and the preparation that has always made you successful historically, and you start to doubt yourself and start pushing too hard. It's very similar to the marathon. So that's something that I always try to keep in the back of my mind is like even when, in the ebbs and flows of sales, you've got the good times and you've got the bad times. It's actually really important in the bad times, not to be too, you obviously want to make it better, but at the same time, you need to remember, you need to not doubt yourself too much, right? You need to remember that you've had success. There are things that you've done that make you successful, and there's no need to just like radically rewrite the process because things aren't going your way. So that's kind of my thoughts. I kind of compare it to the marathon training, but I'd love to hear from the master himself. Tell me a little bit about trusting in your preparation.
Well, I'm definitely no marathoner. My knees could never take it. But yeah, what I love about your story too, Jeff, as far as the marathons go, like every time, I mean, you've prepared, but you've also faced things that you didn't see coming, and you've grappled and recalibrated and set new goals for yourself, like in the moment. And that shows resilience and strength and character. And I think that's the key element. Sales is obviously very unpredictable. You and I talk about this a lot. What's in your locus of control? What can we control? And we can control our prep. Um, I always like to say I'm a student of selling. I've been in sales a long time, been in a lot of different industries. And what's helped me most is look to what gets the team paid, what opportunities and deals have the highest propensity for winning and for growth. And like in first quarter of every year, I'll look back on the prior year. What got my team paid? What were those events that were the most important that I need to gravitate toward? What patterns and trends do I see from last year that I can apply to this coming year? How can I map some of those things out? I spent a lot of time building a foundation for my year. I'll pull a lot of different leads for my team, a lot of manual work, but it's worth it because you're building the foundation for your year. As I always like to say, you can't feast until you set the table. And so that prep time is so important. Understanding what the process is. I'm a big believer in people and process, relationships and resources. And so at the beginning of the year, you got to know, like, what is your year going to shape up to be? Of course, you can only plan so far. Things are going to happen that are going to be uncertain. There's going to be, and you articulated this really well, there's going to be pressures. I was like to, I love the quote. Tennis legend Billie Jean King is most often appropriated with this quote: pressure is a privilege. But in the moment, there's a lot of second guessing. There's a lot of doubting. When you're in a situation of desperation in a business, or you're, leading through uncertain times, you're going to get a lot of people, second guessing what you're doing, or they don't see the path the same way you do. And I think that's where a lot of people can crumble, is if you have less faith in the prep that you've done. That's when the cracks start to really show. See, I've had many, many times where people didn't think I was going to be able to get the deal done, or get the deal done on time, or they were second guessing, the activities that my team and I were engaging in, that were part of our process, part of our prep. They didn't second guess it after the deal was done. That's when everybody wants to pat everybody on the back. But in order to get to that moment, that winning moment, you've got to prepare and you've got to execute on the plan. I also think it's important to prep for and plan for worst case scenarios. And what I mean by that is, don't think or don't visualize a worst case scenario happening, but make sure that your plan is flexible enough so that if and when the inevitable blockers happen or setbacks happen, you're agile and versatile enough to shift and to pivot. And then you learn from that. And then you apply that into your process going forward. See, the process isn't set in stone. The prep isn't set in stone. The beauty, Jeff, I mean, you run multiple of these marathons now, so you know the importance of prep. You would know what to tell someone running their first marathon. Just like in sales, I know a lot of these things. I know how to see around corners, and I know how to study a past year because I've had bad years, and because I've had those gotchas and those aha moments that caught me off guard, where there was some last final level of legal review for a deal and it stalled the deal, or we weren't working with all of the right buyers or influencers. And so when these things happen, you have to fuel that into your future prep. And that gives you the capability to approach every interaction with a clear plan and with confidence, because I was working on a very significant deal recently, going down the final stretches. And, people on the team from time to time, they would, they get antsy, and it's normal. It's high pressure situations. But I told them, I was like, we've been here before. Think about it. We've done this. Remember this deal? We did this, or this deal, we did that. We've been here before. You know what to do. Trust your prep. When you trust your prep, you can avoid, those pitfalls of overthinking or second guessing yourself during the interactions, because you know what you've got to do. And all you've got to do is go out and execute the plan. I was watching at the beginning of the year. I was just watching some shows, and I watched this old episode of Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland, and there was a line in there: "Carry on until you're carried out." And if you trust in your prep and you carry out and execute your plan, you will leave it all on the field, and you will have zero regrets when it comes to looking back. You're not going to win every single time, but guess what? When you execute your process, you give yourself the highest probability of success, and that's what it's all about. And that's why you've got to spend time prepping and trust your prep.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, we left out the most important part. If you don't do a good job of prep, then none of this matters, right? It's kind of what you talked about at the end. So, this doesn't apply to you if you're if you're not doing those little things, but make sure that you are, and make sure that you're being thoughtful around everything you do, and then believe in it.
Couldn't agree more. You don't shortchange your prep and don't go around it. You
Yep.
did it for a reason. Good stuff. Good luck in the marathon, my friend.
Thank you, Carson.